What's up, guys? Welcome back to Chewing the Fat. Today we have Elijah Ward and Matt White. You probably know them from owning Wellhouse, or you know him for being a social media star
and a good drummer.
And a really he's also a drummer. And Matt's the greatest bass player.
Very
alive.
mid bass player.
He's always up there getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But so we mentioned having y'all on on the first episode. So we're fired up that y'all are here. And this will probably be one of the dumbest episodes because we're all idiots.
Except for me.
So, Joanne, I think, did you have some stuff you wanted to start off with?
We'll just hit a couple of questions real quick.
Kick it off.
Not nothing too serious. Just one viewer wanted to know. One viewer.
We had a viewer on the last episode.
We have one person who cares.
One
right
person who asked the question. What was y'all's childhood go-to Christian show? And what's the best 2000s worship song? So I guess we got Elijah.
Taylor Ford, did you ask that question?
No, I guess Elijah Ward could go first.
Yeah, my favorite Christian childhood show is Dragon Tales. All right, I'm just kidding. Y'all, what's funny is they don't even know what Dragon Tales is.
No, I know what Dragon
You know,
Tales is.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got. Yeah, I think if you say anything other than VeggieTales, you're lying.
Yeah, VeggieTales.
It was
banger.
VeggieTales all the way,
Yeah.
and it's because every time I got dropped off at church, and by my parents in the kids' church, they would just give you. I don't know. It's not like this anymore, especially where we're at. But it was just snacks and VeggieTales and just shut up.
Yeah,
That was church.
yeah.
Eat your Cheez-Its. Watch the VeggieTales.
Was Cheez-Its or Goldfish?
Yeah.
Every time.
Or whales. Whales
Yeah,
were
get
always
whales.
in there.
See, but we'd get them in a little white paper cup.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was all
Oh,
you
yeah.
were getting.
Yeah.
Unless you had one guy
Yeah.
that was he liked to eat a little more than just one cup. And if you had that cat come in, maybe he'd give you more.
Bro, you got to cut. I think sometimes they just put it on a piece of paper in front of you.
Yeah, piece of
Just
paper.
keep it off the
too.
table
Paper
germs.
towel.
Yeah, paper towel.
You got a
Yeah.
favorite Christian show or?
I can actually say I did not grow up watching Christian shows.
No, that's fair.
Cue Matt's backstory.
No, I think that growing up, the only cartoons I really cared about was if we're talking about shows, Rocket Power, Hey Arnold, that kind of stuff.
I have no clue.
I liked Bible Man. Bible Man was hard.
Yeah,
Well-
he was tough.
No, I like the VeggieTales episodes where Larry the Cucumber turns into a superhero. Those were
Yeah,
bangers.
yeah.
Bangers.
Was that still technically VeggieTales, though? I think that was a different name.
I don't know their name.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Let's
I liked the
research.
one episode where Larry was King George and he had all the rubber duckies.
yeah, that one was
That
good.
one was fun.
Or, go ahead.
I didn't start watching VeggieTales till I was probably 26. and I had kids ministry at the church, and that was when I got baptized into VeggieTales.
What did you think?
I mean, it's freaking awesome. It's the best show ever.
I think he's got an answer.
All right, in VeggieTales, Larry the Cucumber, a main character, often takes on a superhero role, particularly in the form of Larry Boy.
Larry Boy, that was it.
That's his
Didn't he
name.
have
Fire.
plungers on his
Yeah,
ears?
Yes, he has plungers on his ears, and he kind of has a Bible Man mask
Yeah.
with plungers coming out of
Hey, no.
what might be a cucumber's ears.
Yeah.
That general location.
And he would use them like Spider-Man almost, where he would swing from place to place
Yeah,
with
that's
the
true.
plungers.
He did do that.
Bangers.
Heck yeah. Okay, you had something you wanted to talk about.
Wait, we didn't even finish that question.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
songs.
2000s worship songs.
Oh, heck
The only problem with that question is that I don't know when popular songs came out. However, I will say growing up in the 90s, because I was born in 92.
Shout out.
Shout out to 92. Shout out to the 90s. I would have to say my favorite song as a kid is the one that goes like this. Y'all remember this? Taylor might. know more words, where it goes, you give and take away.
Yeah.
You give and take away.
Yep.
Yep. Lord, blessed be your name. So that was my jam. Even though I hated going to church for the most part as a kid, when that song came on, I was like, game on, dude. I'm singing.
Yeah. Fire.
So that was mine.
Forgot about that song.
Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
Blessed Be Your Name by Matt Redman.
No, not Matt's version.
No? Okay. Well,
What was the name of that
Dang.
band? Oh.
well, it's he did a version of it in '05. So I mean that
There was like a,
you got
a
that era,
popular
right?
trio. Blessed.
Okay, well Matt Redman maybe
The
maybe it's
Newsboys,
pulling up.
maybe. Shout out, Newsboys.
You give and take away.
Not Newsboys. It's going to, as soon as I see the name,
Dude, I forgot about that song.
so you know that song.
I do.
But you didn't grow up in the 90s.
No, sir.
Cohen's all about
Don't
old.
call me
Is
sir.
this-
My fault.
Don't ever call me sir. Yeah,
Okay, well,
who's the artist?
Matt Redman wrote this song.
Okay.
So I think it maybe your version you were listening to was sang by someone else, but him and his wife wrote this. They technically wrote the song. Yeah. So the original is him in '05. So you got the era right.
Yep. But
Matt, you got one?
In those days, I actually was a worship leader in high school at a church. Yep, I was. I was the lead singer of the band.
lead singer.
Nowadays, I couldn't get a microphone if I paid for it. This is the first time I've had a microphone in a long time, so I might sing. But it would have been some like Hillsong kind of stuff, like Mighty to Save or something.
Yeah.
We played that song every week. I was really good at that song.
Yeah.
So 2000s would be 2000 to 2010. Like we get
Correct.
So 09 would have been the Pinot album with like what was this? Mighty Warrior? Yes. Yeah. You're in army
Mighty Warrior,
dressed for battle.
Yeah.
That definitely was my jam.
Dude, I've got to be honest though, like that time of my life, I was like a lot of that stuff was so like I don't know if it gives me PTSD to like before I felt like I was starting to figure things out. So like it takes my mind back to a place where I felt like so uncertain and I just don't like it. So I just close it all off and
I think
No,
that's
it's
called
just
trauma.
correct.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
yeah.
Do everything short of kill me.
Yeah.
God.
Unless you need to. Then it's like
Yeah.
I'll still love you.
Yeah.
So it was Tree 63. Y'all remember that version or that group? That was the one that did Blessed Be the Name that I was like, the reason why I liked it because of my background, Matt too. We like came from like punk, hardcore, heavier music. I think this group did a version where they went halftime. Now, if you know me, you know my playing style. When we go halftime, usually me and Matt are like super like when we play songs at church, we will like make eye contact and like we know what we're about to do. We don't even have to like make signals anymore. And like when we go halftime, I'm like I sometimes want to put the sticks down and just punch the glass. Like that's how much I love halftime.
He always knows which way I'm going to go by the way I'm shaking my hips.
Elijah knows Matt's hips better than anyone.
When his foot starts tapping, I know, okay, we're going full time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's funny too is 80% of the time, you guys know when worship gets crazy and I just start hitting the cymbals and it just washes out. 80% of the time, it's because Taylor looked at me and went like that. It's,
My God.
I really
Run.
I like it whenever Taylor just gives somebody the nod and you're like, yeah, like it's time to go. Yeah.
to get crazy.
Yeah.
So I say that to say Tree 63, I'm pretty sure in their version, they go from like full time. Blessed be the name of the Lord, and then it goes, you give and take away, and I'm like, oh my god, I start like punching kids.
Yeah.
Like just, it's just the mosh in me wants to come out.
Yeah.
Cohen, do you have a
Yeah,
have a
Cohen,
song
you're
from that
big into
era?
that.
I don't even remember that far back. Like I was born in '05, but
Yeah, same.
I remember that if like I hear the song, I remember it because my parents led worship, my whole life, even back then. So I would I don't know like the names, but I know. I'm trying to think.
You'll
Sing
get
it, bro. Just
Yeah,
sing it.
Just sing
My
it. Just
mind
start
went
singing.
blank. I'm trying. There's so many songs I've heard.
All right, I got one. I once brought a kid when I was like 8 years old. I had a friend that I played baseball with, and he stayed the night with me. And my parents were like, the only rule if he stays the night is that he has to come to church with us in the morning. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so he stayed the night. We went to church, and they did the song where it goes to a part where it's like, Taylor, you know the name of the song, but it's like, worthy is the Lamb. Worthy is the Lamb.
Yeah.
You are holy.
Yeah, that's one.
And so every time I would see him after that, he'd be like, what up? Worthy is the Lamb. And it always like kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude's making fun of my church, dog.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
like every church at that time.
yeah, worthy, that one. What's that called again?
Holy. Yeah,
Yes.
Agnes
yeah,
Dei.
it's like a Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Agnes Dei.
Agnes Di.
Yeah.
Yeah, DEI I think means diversity, equity, and inclusion. So yeah, that's what that's
funny as crap.
That's a corporate term. Y'all don't know nothing about that.
Heck yeah. Well, you had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so if you're listening today and you haven't accepted Jesus into your heart, call the number on the screen right now. For 7 small payments of a small seed of $400, you'll be blessed for 7 years. Yeah. If you'll call right now, our prayer team, Ethan Townsend, is standing by on the phones. What was I going to say? I don't even remember.
You literally wanted to debate who's cooler. You were
Okay, yeah. So I submitted a question. I submitted a question for the panel,
Yep.
a panel of gentlemen, and it was, who's cooler, Matt or Elijah?
Is this?
It's not even a debate.
Can y'all guess who's older?
It's definitely.
I'll go Matt, just because it seems backwards.
Yeah.
How old do you think Matt White is? Put a number on it. Don't tell him, Matt.
31.
Okay. How old do you think Elijah Ward is? Put a number on it.
29.
Well, you were born in '92,
Dang it, bro.
but I can't do the math that
Yeah, I
fast.
can't do the math.
But that doesn't give us
Yeah.
crap.
I can't do
Born
that.
in 92,
34.
so we have no.
He's
damn
got to be
clue.
40.
I'm
So Matt's older than me by like a
30
year or two.
30-something.
I'm 32.
Okay.
34.
34.
33.
I
so
literally
close.
was. I knew you were 34 though.
Everybody in my life thinks I'm 45 years, 43, 45.
Wow.
Yeah.
45 is crazy.
My God, get this man a walker. Well, it's gotta have tennis balls on the bottom. You don't want to scratch the floors.
I just got this house, guys. Let's not.
I know.
Oh,
Put some tennis
jeez.
balls and plums.
Oh my god, dude! I faked having a leg injury one time to ride around in Publix. I said
good.
one time. I've done that a lot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, that was my question, but it was mostly a joke because I mostly model myself in my fashion after Matt. Because when I met him, I was like a Vans. I never wasn't wearing Vans and skinny jeans and a beanie, even in the
Ooh.
summertime.
Beanie is wicked.
And so Matt helped open my eyes to alternative fashion. When I met Matt, he had like 600 pairs of shoes, like Nikes and stuff like that.
Were they fire?
Most of them were lame, but I'm just kidding.
Majority of them came from Marshalls.
He had bathing apes, you know, so that's
I never had Bapes, but yes, I did used to really like collect sneakers, like pretty good ones actually. I had
Heck
Yeezys back when they were like impossible to get. I had a dude that would hook it up for me.
Yeah.
And one story. So I had a pair of like the original Yeezy 350s, like the black ones, the Pirate Blacks.
Yep.
And we started having kids, and I was like, man, I don't want all these sneakers. I just really convicted myself. I don't think it was Yahweh or anything like that. But so I went through this like thing where I was like giving sneakers away or selling them. And I sold these 350s on eBay, and they were probably like reselling for like $1,000 at that time. And like I would keep them in boxes, obvi, like the typical sneakerhead thing. And I sold a pair, and it's like my dude that was like my sneaker plug, I didn't ever know I had the receipt for him. So when I sold him, the buyer was like, do you have the receipt? I'm like, no, but here. So I shipped them out. And the dude, so I was like, I sold him at a retail price, which was like probably $250 at the time. And then the dude gets them. He's like, oh, bro, the receipt was in the bottom of the paper. Thank you. I'm like, dang it. I left so much money on the table.
How much did you pay for them?
Retail, $200, $250, whatever it was at the time.
Yeah, 250. I could use about 250 right now.
No doubt.
If you're watching this podcast right now and you want to sow a seed into Johan,
Or any of us.
call the number on the screen, and
I'll put
Ethan
my
will
hand up for
capture
this
that
one.
via Square app.
Yep. My PayPal's gonna be in the description.
Cash App, Venmo.
None for the other guys. I'll make sure they get their share, but
As you can see, he doesn't have any shoes.
no shoes. You know, it's rough out here, but we'll make it through tough times.
I thought of the song, by the way, if you want to go back. Is Lord You Are Good? I don't know if that's what it's called. Lord You. Yep. You are good all the time.
Oh,
This is
dude,
we
you knew it was
used
going
to
to be a
jam.
good Sunday. And then if you like were singing that knowing there's food in the crock pot at home, it's like, dude,
Or you got like dinner on the grounds afterwards or something like
yeah,
that.
baby, that's it.
See, my childhood church experience, like I know all the songs y'all are talking about, but it was so much different because it wasn't like I woke up every Sunday and went to church.
Yeah.
It was like I was in church a lot, like not
Yeah.
normally at home.
Like every day.
Your
Like-
dad's a preacher, though, right?
Yeah. Like, but I'm saying like Cohen's dad was working in church, and like they were at home going to church, and then you'd go home and there'd be food at home. Like I was typically like eating in a green room afterwards,
Yeah.
or like
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like I was like it was not the tip. Like I wish it was the typical like thing.
What, Johan?
nothing. I was just making a joke. I was being a little mean, but it's fine. It's fine.
So you didn't get the? I think we're tapping into some good healing.
Finally
Yeah.
thought of the
healing
song though.
conversation right now.
Yeah.
So you didn't get a typical church experience as
Yeah.
a kid.
I was
You didn't. So you didn't get VeggieTales.
no, I got
And-
VeggieTales, but it was like in someone else's children's church with kids I didn't know. Like
Wait.
it was like in like it was with a bunch of random kids.
Yeah.
Like many times I had to push through the normal fears of being a child of meeting other kids, like once a weekend. Like it wasn't like first day of school
Yeah.
nerves. It was like
And that's why you so easily connect with people now.
I think it's why I so easily can pretend.
Yeah.
My man's
Yeah.
a qualified actor.
Mm.
Do y'all know that show Superbook?
Yes.
That was like a kids.
Yeah, my kids
Bible.
watch it.
Yeah.
It's dope.
I remember. I just remembered that.
Wait, so it's old? I thought
I
it was
mean-
kind of new.
It's older. I watched it when I was younger. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching it as a kid.
Yeah. My kids
That and
love that show.
VeggieTales was.
I like Superbook too because they visualize these different Bible stories from the perspective of kids, like just like talking, and then they get like sucked into this like
Yeah.
wormhole and go
Right.
into like this. There was one that was like,
Like-
I don't know if it was Job or something. It was like a battle in the heavens.
Yeah.
Like and so my kids will ask me questions sometimes before bed, and I'm like, where did that come from? They'll be like, Daddy, did Lucifer get beat in the heavens? What?
What are they teaching?
For the
them?
most part, my kids too, they don't like they don't. Matt can confirm that too. Like the idea of Satan, the name Satan, it's like it doesn't exist in their mind. Like we got here into 2012. Yeah, the beginning of 2013, and you're not going to hear Apostle Aaron say enemy, Satan, Lucifer. It's like it is all up here. It's all heaven-centric conversation and engagement. And so when they would watch Superbook, I think at some points they'd be like kind of confused. Like, hey, there's a guy.
There's a missing character.
A scaly guy named Lucifer. I'm like, don't worry about him. Just forget about that guy.
The guy looks like he's from Star Wars.
Yeah, he lost. He's dead.
Yeah, obviously none of us really know, but why is the devil always portrayed so like Star Warsy? Like Jesus is portrayed as like human, and like angels look like normal angels, but then it's like he just grew horns out of nowhere. Like, you know what I'm saying?
A pitchfork and a tail.
Yeah, like with a pitchfork. Like
I honestly think it comes back to like ancient philosophical ideas about heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Because even in the Bible, in Ezekiel chapter 28, it talks about a cherubim, or maybe it calls him a seraphim or something like that. But like he was like describes him as a worshiping angel, and the reason why he was discarded or thrown out of this mountain, this holy mountain that it talks about, is because it says he found himself to be beautiful, and so he was cast out. Oh. And like I always thought that was very interesting, that like the thing that disqualified him on the holy mountain was that he simply found himself to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so the indictment against him is that in the presence of Jesus or of Yahweh, the most beautiful, like he took a moment to glance at himself and enjoy it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, you're an easy 9.5. 9.5, dude. You're a 9.5.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you rate yourself?
Yeah, I was about to say, let's go around.
Dude, I don't know. I can't do that.
I'm just, it was a joke.
I don't know.
Do it. Just try.
I can't do that.
If we're being straight up honest.
It depends on the day.
Okay, then rate me.
Dude.
We all got our socks on. It's all right.
I don't.
I'm not rating nobody.
What does that even mean? I love that.
Oh, okay. This is something we could talk about.
Yeah.
So we were talking yesterday. We were in the car.
Socks.
Me and Maddie were in the car with my parents, and we started talking about the concept of beauty pageants and how it's wild that that's still a thing in our culture.
Yeah.
That like we let girls like get dressed up and then walk across the stage, and we're like rating them pretty much.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
That is weird to me. They're all
they still let you do that.
they're like, and then they're like below the age of 10, and that's where it gets weird, you know?
They're all
You're-
young.
Imagine being 8 and then like being told you're not the prettiest one in the room.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
No, and the moms are serious about it too. Like they're in the dressing room, like we're gonna smash you. Pause. Pause. Pause.
Looked at that and went like, okay, that dog. So, has anybody ever looked at that and been like, how even beauty pageant, like all that makeup, all those crazy dresses? I've never looked at that and went, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's 8.
Yes.
That's the opposite. I'm like,
Yeah.
Like
That's-
you're so not beautiful that
Yeah.
you that you had to do that.
That's where the conversation led to, where that isn't even like, and but what's crazy is how our culture has gone away from that, and we're now back to kind of like, that's messed up to do that kind of stuff, like,
Yeah.
but we still do that, like that's in like, I think it's probably more of a Southern thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's 100% a
like,
Southern thing.
yeah, like if you're the closer you get to the campus of Alabama, like that
Yeah.
becomes more prominent, I'm sure. But
Yeah. Oh, and the spray tans are awful. Just
Yeah.
terrible.
it's just not a good look.
No, not at all.
And our education, as in such as Iraq. You guys ever seen the video of that girl in that pageant, and she gets asked a question, and it's like, one of those world peace. Like, I
Oh,
think it
yeah,
was
yeah,
Miss
yeah.
America.
Shirley Kirk.
And her response has been digitally immortalized on the internet. Like it is still, I still see the video going around. and they ask her a question, and she's literally like, I forgot the question. We'll have to look it up. But she starts talking, and it's the most secondhand embarrassment I've ever had from a video. She's like, yeah, well, I think that we should, as U.S. Americans, should focus on our education systems, such as in Iraq, such as Afghanistan. And she, is saying, the whole time. Wow. I don't know if you're going to pull up a clip of it, but her response was absolutely
The South Carolina chick?
That's it. Can you read? Is there a script you can read it? Read how she responded to that question. It is a word salad.
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation because I believe in our education, such as in South Africa and Iraq.
Yep.
And such as. I believe our education in the U.S. should help over here in the U.S.
She was asked, why do you think most Americans can't identify the United States on a map? I think that was her response.
That's crazy. No. Yeah.
Such as.
Yeah.
No.
It's a filler phrase that is having an adverse effect on you right now. Another one, I'll say this. Another phrase that's a filler phrase a lot of people use that I absolutely hate, and it makes me cringe, is per se. P-E-R-S-E.
Yeah.
People say per se. I don't even know how to say it the right way, but I know when people are saying it wrong.
Yeah.
And it's bad.
Dude, so do you guys use the word in sentences? I try not to. In high school, we had this thing in career tech this one time. This is just something to make everybody think about it. But me and Apostle Aaron were talking about this a couple weeks ago too. I had this thing in career tech where this lady puts us up in interviews. It'd be like me interviewing Elijah, either one of you Elijahs, in front of a whole class of people. And she's like, okay, I'm going to do the interview right now, and we're going to count how many times you say in the interview. And, dude, it was freaking brutal. But Apostle Aaron and I were talking about this a few weeks ago, and it's using filler words like that such as thing or per se. Yeah. But think about the word like when you're talking to people or you're presenting or whatever.
Yeah.
Try to not say
I say Mine's I'll be like
People say like too. I do that. Like talking and saying like a lot. That's I noticed catch myself saying that. I gotta,
See, I was different because I grew up in radio. So I'm not saying that I don't say I'm sure that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But in radio, my dad always taught me you never say That's like a negative thing. So in school, which I was horrible at, any of the classes that required presentations or talking, I smashed it.
Yeah. You excelled. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna shine through it because I just failed math yesterday.
Yeah.
This right now is about to be.
Yeah.
Hanging on.
That's awesome. All right, let's talk about school.
School.
Okay, so let's go around the room really quick.
Oh, Lord.
First of all, I was amazing in school. I'm just kidding. All right, this sounds so bad, but it was actually a major accomplishment. I failed math in 9th grade with a 6.
You wait,
A
9th
6?
grade with a
How
6?
do you make a 6? Is that
It was actually pretty tough, dude.
Like-
If I would have written my name on a piece of paper, it would have given me 10 points and pulled the grade up. But I was like, I'm
To a
determined.
16.
I'm going to fail this class with a single digit.
That's
I walked in and my
crazy.
teacher knew I was going to sleep every day.
Was it like first period?
No, it was like middle of the day.
Yeah.
Needed a break.
Yeah, just needed a nap for the second half of the
Yeah,
day.
I know Elijah Ward. You probably freaking aced school.
No, when I was in first year of college, I failed kickboxing.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with.
I don't know why I
Education.
failed it. I think that because I would like do the stuff they were.
Yeah, kickboxing. Yeah, I was about to ask that.
Dude, you know the first 2 years of college are so just. They call them prereqs, which stands for prerequisites. It's just retarded. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that word. It is
You're the only one that can get canceled.
ridiculous.
So you can say what you
You're
want.
right. It's ridiculous. That's a better R word. But when I failed kickboxing, I went to the instructor and I was like, so what happened? Like, I showed up here, I brought the equipment, I had like the gloves, and then you would like spar with a partner, like stupid sparring, like it wasn't actual like contact fist to face or anything like that.
Right.
But like just practicing motions and stuff. And I was like, what happened? And she was like, well, you didn't do the projects. And I was like, how in the world can you do a kickboxing project? And why was I not made aware of kickboxing projects?
Yeah.
Wasn't in the syllabus. So I don't know. Yeah, that's like my probably worst grade in school ever was failing kickboxing in college.
I had I don't know if you were in this class. It was when I guess it would have been our like freshman year. You could have either gone to the high school math, like you could have gone up and went ahead and did your
geometry.
Your geometry, or you could have.
He said
You could have done your I guess we did pre-algebra.
What?
I know it was a joke, Cohen.
It was.
That was a joke.
It was
Johan said
Oh my goodness! I don't even think about it now. It was so it was either. It was in geometry. You could do pre-algebra or algebra 2.
Yeah.
So algebra 2 freshman year or pre-algebra.
So we were in pre-algebra.
Yep.
And like it was a choice.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like based off your grade or what you had to have a certain grade to go up.
But it was like
even if you had that grade, you could choose to do one more year of preparing before going to high school math. And we were in that, and I had a 25 going into the exam. No. I had a 50, which means I was right on the cusp of passing.
You're still 20 points away from passing.
No, but
let's be real.
But if I made a good grade on the exam, I'd be fine.
That's fair.
But I made a 25 on the exam.
You made a 20. You never told me about this.
Bringing me down to averaging. That should have brought me down pretty far.
Yeah.
I ended up averaging. I was really good friends with the teacher. Like I was really nice. I mean, I was a good kid. I just wasn't great at math.
Me and Elijah did a lot of talking in that class, not a lot of paying attention.
So I ended, but she loved me. Like she really did, and they wanted me to play sports. Like they wanted us to. Play
they
football.
were big into. I remember that. Yeah, like
so you had to have the good grades to get to keep playing. So let's do the math here. I have a 50. I make a 25 on the exam, which the exam was 25% of your grade. That's bringing me down to at least a 45.
Yeah.
We're
looking closer to 40, I think.
Yeah.
With that kind of weighted average.
I averaged a 75 after that.
That's
I
crazy.
think she just added them together.
I remember in that one class, we still had like overhead projectors. And I drew a male body part on the projector, and he turned it on in class, and it made it huge on the wall, and it was amazing. Oh, God.
You know how the pictures that like there's something like hidden below the picture?
Yeah.
He drew the body part in Sharpie, and the other parts added to it in Expo marker. So it was like a cat or something like that.
Yeah.
And they went to erase it, and out of that picture came
That's
wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Now in my school we did demerits.
Uh-oh.
So demerits were like if you got 3 demerits, you got detention. If you got 100 demerits by the time the year was done, you were getting expelled regardless. It don't matter if you're the smartest kid in school, or your principal's son. It don't matter.
Wow.
And he got 55 demerits for that.
Oh my
And
Lord.
it literally was like November.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
no.
We were all like, honestly,
Yeah.
How do you measure?
Yeah.
How do you measure one demerit?
That's what I
is
was
that
going to
one
say. Who was in
occurrence?
charge of deciding that kid?
it was up to the discretion of the teacher.
So you could for
Right.
one event earn 10 demerits. Okay.
They had a book of rules that kind of gave guidelines, And
Yeah.
it was like either the guy was nice, which some were, or they were total rear ends. And they were, you were going to get demerits for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got demerits all the time just because I was a class clown. So I disrupted almost everything we did.
Shout out.
Teachers would be chill with it. They'd be like, all right, calm down. Like, then some of those would be like, you're getting 15 demerits.
Yeah.
I'm like, chill, dude.
Did y'all ever go to a school that did corporal punishment, like paddling and?
No, my school
Well, I
did
was-
at one point,
I was
but not when
homeschooled,
I was there.
I would normally paddle the principal.
Yeah, I
Coach,
was homeschooled,
So
so
you got
if
you
I
got
was
the
bad
paddle.
enough, which
Matt said he
Only a
paddled
couple
the
times.
principal.
you what?
Yeah, dude.
so
I was the paddler.
I was
I'm just
actually paddled for the first time in 7th grade. I grew up in Seattle, and up there was no corporal punishment at all. If you got in trouble, they called your parents, they complained, you got grounded. Well, I thought, like, I only heard about paddling in, like, movies of, like, oh, it's like a movie in a southern setting, and it's like, oh, back in the 50s,
Yeah.
they would paddle kids for being bad.
Yeah.
So we moved from Seattle to the Memphis area, and I started going to school. And, like, the first couple weeks I was there, I had a homework assignment in history, and I didn't do it. And I was just like, I'll take the L, right?
Yeah.
So I show up, and he asked for everyone to turn him in. Everyone turned him in. And then he goes, Ward, where's yours? And I was like, I didn't do it, sir. He was like, well, why not? I said, I just chose not to do it, I guess. He was like, okay, go out in the hallway. I'll be there in a minute. And I thought he was going to give me a stern talking to.
Yeah.
Well, he walks out in the hallway holding a piece of wood.
Like
And
a
I'll-
2x4?
Like it's probably like, 2.5 feet long, and it had a handle. Like have you guys ever seen a paddle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen
It's
it.
like that.
Did it
And
have
this
holes
dude-
in it?
No holes. It was just covered in athletic tape. This guy, what I thought was kind of messed up about this is that he was not just a teacher. He was the, like, baseball coach.
Oh.
So I thought he had an unfair advantage paddling me
Yeah.
as a baseball coach.
I would have made him chase me around the whole
What?
school.
Dude, you're going to hit me. You got to
I
earn
know,
it.
you got to catch me.
Well, here's what he made me do. He came out and he goes, all right, this is what he said. He goes, all right, Ward, you're going to get 3 licks. And I was like,
What?
licks?
Yeah,
That's
you like,
I don't know if I like this school. Well, I was like, all right. So honestly, I thought, how bad could it be? And he goes, grab your ankles. And I'm not flex. He told me to grab my ankles. I grabbed my ankles, and he goes, straighten your legs. And I was like, you're getting one or the other. I can't like grab my ankles without going like that. And he was like, straighten them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't like it.
I would have pulled my pants down.
That would have made
Dude,
it even
he
We're going to
paddled
do this
me.
the right way.
He paddled me 3 times. 3 times, and I cried like a it was the worst spanking I ever had in my
way.
life.
wood to the butt seems a little like it would hurt the butt.
Yeah.
What the butt? Taylor is laying down on.
All right, y'all, bring it back, dude. Bring it back.
A wooden paddle to the butt sounds like
Yeah.
it hurt the butt bone.
So here's what happened. I got home. Dude, I got home and showed my mom. I was like, I got paddled. And she goes, what? She was mad because they didn't get her permission. And I showed her, and there was some bruising on my butt.
Oh.
The next day, she embarrassed the fire out of me, dude, because she showed up at school and just started raising Cain, man. Like, she was so mad that they paddled me.
Yeah.
Even if they're defending you, like all of your friends are about to give you the biggest
Oh, yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Well, plus, I cried the day before in front of everybody. So it's like, I'm
You weren't
no
really
lo-
fired up to be at
I'm
school
like,
that day
dude,
anyway.
I want to die. Like, I don't want to come back to this school.
Well.
So it was bad, dude. Corporal punishment is brutal, man.
Yeah. I never
it's
got
pretty
that.
much.
So y'all pray for me. If you will call the number on the screen right now and want to give a seed into Elijah's emotional restoration,
Just PTSD and trauma.
our phone team Ethan is going to take
Yeah.
the call.
What the question was? What was like the worst grade or whatever?
Yeah.
I think it was in that same class with Elijah. With Elijah, I think I had like well, actually, that's not true. Junior year of high school.
feel like I'm already gonna laugh.
Junior year of high school, I was in geometry. Now I graduated finally from the algebras. I was in geometry.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. And I moved to a new school. This was, when the Great Migration happened. That's what I call Pop's moving here.
Oh,
Great
okay. That's
Migration.
good. That's good.
Yep. So, well, I didn't move here. Moved to Covington. Shout out.
you
But at the new school, I just didn't care about school. So during geometry, I just slept like Matt White. And about halfway through the year, teacher emailed my mom and was like, John's got like a 50 and he needs like a 70 something to pass. And I'm like, she was like, he's a great kid, but he needs to like lock in basically. So I locked in.
There you
By
go.
the end of the year, I had a B.
Let's
had
go,
like an
man.
82.
That's good.
Good old redemption story.
I got all A's one semester in marketing in college, and then I was like, all of my grades have been so good, I'll just not study and bomb the final, and I'll still pass. Like if I fail the final, I'll still pass the class. And so, because I was used to getting C's, like, A was pretty good. Well, the dude called me into his office after the final, and he goes, Elijah, you put me in a bad position, man. He's like, you got A's all year, and then you failed this final. That brings your average from an A down to a B for the whole semester. And I acted like I cared. I was like, oh, no, man, a B?
Yeah.
And then he goes, what do you want me to do? And I said, sir, I trust you and your judgment enough to do the right thing. And he goes, man, you're such a great kid, Elijah. And I shook his hand and left. He failed me. I thought he would be like, you know what? His response was so
By
strong.
failed, you mean you left with a B.
I left with a B.
Okay.
But I was like, I was thinking,
Yeah.
dude, he's definitely just going to let me keep the A.
Yeah.
He didn't let me keep the A,
Dang.
which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, that was really my mentality all of school. Like pretty much since like sixth grade up until I graduated, just get a good enough grade to where you could just bomb the final. And I did it every single year in every single class.
Final was always my flu game. Like I had to go out there and ball on the final because like all year long, bunch of zeros for homework grades had kind of stacked up. I had to literally get like a 90 on the final so that I could just squeak.
It would happen every time, and
That's too much pressure.
And I'd just be like, this is insane. And like, not gonna lie, shout out Ella, really helped us out. Cheated off of her in Mr. Folger's class,
She helped you pass the final.
Well, it was.
Folger's class was like, not gonna lie, I don't like saying this. Seems like I'm missing something. Pretty sure we were allowed to have the study guide for the most of the test.
No, we weren't allowed to, but we did.
Oh,
no. We definitely were allowed to.
Vulture,
because
we
would
love you,
keep
bro.
them on our desk, but you had to fill out the study guide yourself.
Oh yes.
So but that was as
yeah.
simple as going into your book and reading vocabulary and writing it. But so it was a blank study guide and it was missing the keywords.
Yeah.
And you would fill it out and then you got to keep that with you during the test.
Yeah, that is true.
But a lot of us didn't do that.
Fantastic
so it would,
resource.
It would go to some Ella always did.
Yeah.
You talk about even getting out of like math. I keep wondering. I got to algebra 1 and just never made it past it.
Wait, hold on.
Like in 10th grade, like I got to algebra 1.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I'm tapped out. This is
They let you pass?
No, this is literally what they did. I swear this is true. They literally created what was called for the next year a business math class.
Wow.
What that meant was you learn stuff about real life.
Yeah.
Taxes, buying stock, doing, all of that, like balancing a checkbook. Like,
Yeah.
You learn more real life. But see, now the cool part is like people clowned me for it, but then I came on the other side of it and had more knowledge, at least to some degree, of the real world. But I got to algebra 1 and I told the principal, I said, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I said, this is like I've gave it my all. This legitimately is the end of the line as far as math is concerned for me. And let's be honest.
This is where my potential ends.
And I told him, I was like, honestly, in 15 years, if we don't have the ability to just do stuff on a calculator, then this is ridiculous anyway, and I'm not going to use it. So,
Dude, y'all remember growing up, were you guys told, maybe this is for the 90s kids right here, but growing up, teachers would always be like, you need to learn to write out your math on paper. You're not just going to have a calculator with you everywhere
Yep.
you go as an adult. And I'm like,
Yep.
who
Yeah.
won?
They
You're right. It's not just calculator. It's literally the entire world.
It is
Yeah.
not just,
And-
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've got all information on the planet.
One of the most important math equations anyone in the world needs to know is make more money than you spend. And if you can get that fixed,
Yep.
you're okay.
Solve a lot of
It's
problems.
pretty
Literally,
difficult,
that's
though.
where people derail and
Yeah.
mess
Yeah.
their life up because they get that one math problem wrong.
Dang, that was deep.
That was good.
Yo, that's true for dollars. And I heard somebody break down health the other day, and it was like talking about there's all these diet plans, there's all these training programs, there's all this stuff, and he literally was like, calorie deficit. You're welcome.
Burn more
Burn more than you
calories
eat.
than you intake.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
was
that
like,
one's also
wow.
very difficult. Yeah.
If you can master those things, you can have a really good life. You can be in shape, you can be healthy, and you can have some money in the bank.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, so I don't know how much the school system really did for me
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
regard, but I'm working on it.
I will say I have a genetic predisposition to consume a lot of calories, and it doesn't, like, I can eat fried chicken and french fries every day, and as long as I'm walking or doing something, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. So I do have an unfair advantage because of my dad's family is pretty
Did-
slender.
I saw something online. I don't know if this is true.
I like those blue jeans, bro.
I don't know if this is true, but apparently people with like a higher metabolism, they were like scavengers and hunters, and people with lower metabolisms were like royalty, and they didn't need to like use
Wow.
like yeah.
Dude,
So
you were literally a king.
yeah.
I was just a forager.
You lived out in the woods. I lived
Yeah.
in a house, bro.
Yeah.
I was chasing rabbits,
Check
bro.
that.
Like,
Also in that line of thinking, I'm like, am I the guy you've seen those pictures where it literally looks like a king size sheet? It's cut all.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm in the king's house,
Yeah.
but I'm not 600 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am thankful. So I've been like, I've had to deal with like not being able to like pack on weight. So like when I was in high school, all my buddies were getting like jacked. Like at football, we'd do weights and they would like get muscular. I could never pack on muscle. Like it wouldn't work for me.
Yep.
So now that I'm older and my metabolism has slowed down, I think now I'm in a perfect spot to pack on some pounds.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I've been like trying to lift heavy weight lately
Mhm.
just to get like a little bit more.
That's just math too, though. Like if you're lifting and you want to get bigger, you've got to be in a caloric surplus. So
wow, that was a cool caloric surplus.
you
like
should have been probably drinking a couple protein shakes a day and eating, a couple
I'm gonna do
foot-long
that.
subs, and there you go. You'll start putting it on. It's
Mm.
simple. It's math.
Not
Shout
from
out
that
Rachel.
social
Cohen
church,
didn't get
so.
his little school
yeah.
segment.
Well, I was homeschooled till my senior year. Then I went to high school, but I did good. I was always like A's and B's.
Oh,
and
of
I
course
took
you did.
I took some college class at my junior year, so I got like a year of college down, math and everything.
Like dual enrollment.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, I did some.
No,
of that.
sir. Sorry.
Don't call me sir.
It's a habit. My fault. But my senior year, I went to school. I was still taking college classes. The start of the year, I got into pre-calculus. I was gonna fail, so I just dropped out. I was
Yeah.
like,
Dude,
So I-
calculus is tough.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
never enjoyed. Fun fact, Isaac Newton created calculus before he turned
What, the guy
26.
that used to hang out with us? What's his name?
Isaac Newton
No,
used to
no,
hang
no.
out with you.
No. We
Hang out with some guy.
yeah, different Isaac.
Oh, my fault.
Not the Newtonian guy from the 1700s
Yeah.
or 1600s.
I
Yeah,
wish.
Shout out,
I was always bad at calculus too.
shout out Parker when it's really coming to talking about my school because
Yeah.
when the rubber hit the road, Parker Thomaston really had my back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Made sure that I was
there
good.
you go.
But
Shout
it
out
kind of
Pete
got to
Song.
the point where it was like, I am really glad. This is no slight. Like now, and I'm trying to make sure this doesn't come off like very rude. But I'm glad that I went to a school like when I got to Legacy Academy, it wasn't in the position it's in now, like where it's like really like dialed. They were still figuring things out. I mean, it went from like 15 kids to 60 kids out of nowhere. So like but I went to like a real school my whole life. And I think I'm glad because like junior and senior year when I was at Legacy, like I kind of knew what I needed to know by then, and I also knew where my life was going to go by then. And it wasn't like I needed to like, but now supposedly the school next year is going to be dialed. Like it's going to be like, they have like lockers and stuff.
What? Lockers?
Maybe that might just be an idea, but that
Full on experience, man.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I didn't have lockers at my school, I don't think.
we had
What?
lockers at King.
Well, yeah, at King, but not at the one I graduated from. Shout out Eastside.
East Side.
It's a great day to be an Eagle.
I don't think I ever took one book home my entire senior year. It stayed in my locker
No,
the whole year.
I didn't have you can ask Johan. About 9th grade, I dropped the whole backpack thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I was
did.
gonna say when I went to school my senior year, I didn't even carry a backpack.
No, you don't need one because you're probably going max. You're going to need to bring 2 books.
And
home.
now
Yeah.
it's like everything's on those computers.
yeah, you
so.
just keep it.
The
Them
locked.
dang
lockers were
computers.
sick though. Like
Yeah, we're cool.
Yeah,
when you had that bell rang and then
Yeah.
everyone's going to the lockers, that was a cool thing.
Yeah.
A little mirror in there. You had some pictures. You had some. So that was like a time to show off like your girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Car you're driving.
Yeah.
Because my first car was a red Camaro.
Yeah.
Biggest piece of junk.
It fit in your locker?
Well, after it blew up, that thing was 93 red Camaro with T-tops.
There you go.
Had like $1,200 worth of sound in it.
Yeah.
So when
Fire.
I was in school, they heard me coming.
Yeah.
And so you had like pictures of that in your locker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like kind of gather around, everybody's talking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at King we had lockers and there would be some girls in the class that would like decorate your lockers and we're like, what are we doing here? There's like
the
shelves in
guys, you
there.
kind of just threw everything in them. Like
Yeah.
they
I
got-
never had any sense of organization
No.
in my locker.
That's where I was opposite in that regard. I'm OCD. Like I'm a clean freak. I'm not saying I'm not messy, but I'm more organized than anything. That was exactly it, man.
Let me see.
That's
That's
sick.
fine.
If this is a video,
clean.
this needs to be like that part on Joe Rogan where they
Yeah.
like put it on the screen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
you need
nice
to put
We're
that
not
up.
quite there yet, but
Yeah.
I think they can zoom in. Hey,
Oh my.
Dude.
Yeah.
yeah.
That thing is
Yeah.
slick, bro.
My first
Let's
car was
go.
a Crown Victoria.
Ooh.
Yeah, I look like one of the old cops. Yeah, that thing will get up and run too. She has some horses. Yeah.
What was yours, Matt?
I'm gonna pull it up real quick. 87 BMW 325.
Sheesh.
Bro, it was pretty slick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fire.
Let
It
me
was
see
like
a
one of
picture
those. Like
That's tough.
it was
That's
tight,
tough.
dude. It was only like $1,600.
That's
Yeah.
sick.
Dude, that is hard.
It was sick. The AC didn't work. Radio didn't work. Only one window worked.
Wow,
But it
that's
was a cool freaking car.
fine. Yeah.
I think
Take another one.
everybody's first car to a degree had some type of quirk to it. Even if it was
100%.
small, it had a quirk to it. Like my Camaro, great, barely ran, and the T-top leaked like crazy.
Mm.
Yeah.
And like, but other than that, it was fine.
I think with the Crown Vic, every other time to start it, I'd have to like lift the hood and like shake the terminal on the battery a little bit, like kind of.
If I had a Crown Vic in high school, it would have had at least 22s on it. I was about that life, bro. I wanted that. I wanted
M&M
it.
decal.
I wanted it wrapped in something like M&M's. You
Yeah.
know, like the big car wraps they
Yeah.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, yes.
You wanted to eat M&M's in it, dog?
Yeah, bro.
Dude, that was style. Like if you had candy bar logos on your car, it was just, for whatever reason it was cool.
It was so sick.
We're going around too about people that had that, and I don't know if this is true, but there was always rumors like, hey, that guy's getting paid at Starbucks.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Is he? Because that car looks like crap.
yeah, yeah.
He's getting paid. I don't know what he's doing with it, but he's definitely not.
He was not getting paid.
That's what I'm saying. That guy is
Or laid.
wishing he'd get paid.
I had a drum set when I was in middle school, and I somehow got like our family moved, and so there was like a big cardboard box that was red and it had the Skittles logo on it, and I put it on top of my drum set just because I thought it looked cool. And I convinced one of my friends I was as a drummer, I was sponsored by Skittles.
That's fire.
Bro was basically a moron, but
Yeah.
at least that was
You
that
could
was
have
what I-
convinced him of anything.
anything.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
shout out to
yeah.
moron. miss you, buddy.
Someone find us another good topic. to
I've got
just
one.
flow
I've been
on.
holding on to it for a while. So me and Matt are like local business owners. So my question
out.
for you guys would be: are you guys in like when you think about your future? Do you have your sights set on starting a certain kind of business or taking an entrepreneurial path, or are you going to go the route like of ministry or have a career in a certain field? What are you guys looking at doing in terms of work and professionalism?
Johan?
Okay, so I'll tell you, I'm definitely like entrepreneur. What I'm gonna do, like what my company will be, not quite sure yet. We're still figuring that one out. But I don't know. I definitely don't want to work for somebody else. And I want to have my own company at some point. If that's like with construction, because my dad has his own construction company and all that stuff. So I'm not really quite sure, but I don't know. I'm trusting the Lord.
You want to be a business owner, and you're going to kind of figure out what path that looks like in terms of
Yes.
your vocation.
Yep.
Matt White, what would you say in your experience is the most important skill that you can possess as a self-employed business owner?
You've got to be a self-starter, and everybody might know what that means, but I don't have to wake up and go be at work for anybody any day of the week ever. And we're able to go on vacation, whenever we want to. We don't have to request time off, do all those kind of things. But even when we go out, it's you'll still see us on our phones or computers at times because there are things that just have to be done. So if you want to go that path, you've got to be able to create a schedule for yourself. And so to answer Elijah's question, you got to be a self-starter, and you also have to have some sort of vision. I'm not saying 20 years from now I know where we'll be at, but I know where I would like to be in 1 year. I know where I'd like to be in 3 years. I know where I'd like to be in 5 years. But you've got to be able to take these visions, and we use the term reverse engineer a lot, and back those down to yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily actions to get you there. Because, for me to say, I want to go to California tomorrow, I've got to know, am I going to drive? Am I going to fly? Am I going to walk? Whatever it is. And then you've got to, between here and there, know how long it's going to take you to get there. You can say, I'm going to California. When? Well, either I'm going to walk. That's going to take me X amount of time. I'm going to drive. That's going to take me X amount of time. I'm going to fly. And you can know, that'll tell you how long it's going to take you to get to that destination. But you've got to know when you want to get there, and then set realistic goals along the way to get yourself there. For the how factor. For the how factor. You've got to,
Because you could get there several different ways, and each of those ways might require a different investment. Like a flight's going to be $1,500. You could walk for free.
yeah.
But that means you've got to shift your planning horizon a little bit.
Yeah, and then
Right.
you've got to, and if you're going to walk, and you say, and you can still figure out, that's a good thing to say right there, is if I'm walking at an average pace would be 3 miles an hour. If you just get out here and you start walking. And it takes 36 hours to drive to LA from here. Well, then you start thinking about the math, and you're like, okay, how many miles am I from here to LA? And then you start thinking, okay, well, if I'm walking 3 miles an hour, it's going to take me 2 months to get there, or whatever it is. So you'll know how far, versus saying, But if I drive, it's going to take me 2 days.
Right.
If I don't sleep, or if I fly, it's only going to take me 5 or 6 hours to get there.
And you can even break that down into like how many miles per day do I have to walk
exactly
in order to stay on pace.
Yeah.
So if
you can make it so scientific.
Yeah, if you are and we've gotten really good at that. And I think we were pretty good at it from like day one, just because we were realists. And about 3 years ago is where we started to really grow as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think if you want to go out and do the business thing, you've got to have some goals in mind, and then you've got to have a plan to get there. You can't do just the whole spiritual thing like, oh, God's just going to do this. God's just going to bless. If you want to start a roofing company, you need to say, okay, how many roofs do I need to put on a month to make the money that I need to make? And then you're like, okay, how many doors do I need to knock on a day to get, if I'm getting
Those contracts.
Yeah, if I'm getting one customer for every 15 doors that I knock on, well, how many do I need to knock on to actually, get this percentage of conversion? It's called a conversion rate in sales. So I don't know. Answering Elijah's question, self-starter, you got to be able to like get out there and wake up, go work without someone telling you what to do. And you've got to have goals where you hit milestones and say, if I do this, I should be here by this time. And you might have those years that surprise you, and you kind of jump ahead of your schedule.
Yeah.
But being realistic and, yeah, dude, having the faith approach, and like, we believe that Yahweh blesses everything that we do. But, dude, I'm going to be honest. I don't ever pray about like, God, will you please? I mean, it's very seldomly. I'm like, help me accomplish this, because I think that he's just given us the power to build the wealth and use our minds and our wisdom to actually formulate a plan and then go out there and execute it, and it happens.
Like when you have the mind of Christ, you think strategic thoughts from heavenly places, and like you'll have these ideas, and it's like, oh, now that I have it, all I have to do is execute.
Yeah, like my kids don't have to ask me to feed them and do all that kind of stuff, because they know I'm going to do it and buy them clothes and do all those kind of things. You know what I mean? So
It's good.
I think that just having a plan and going out there and like putting something on paper. Any of you dudes that ever have a business idea could come to me or Elijah, and we could go sit down for an hour, 2 hours, and like make a business plan. And if you go do it, it will work.
Were you going to say something, Cohen, about a business? Okay.
No, sir.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely like that definitely could help somebody out, because you don't like realize what you're getting into until you hear little things like that, and you're like, oh yeah, like of course you're gonna have to put this many roofs on to provide for your family. But then you're going, okay, well, what's the success rate of knocking on doors? And you're like, okay, well, if I knock on 10 doors, I'm going to sell half a roof, or something. 20 doors is one roof. It's like, well, how many hours is it taking me to knock on 20 doors? Then, okay, well, I need to literally be out there every day knocking on doors to sell
for this
enough
many
to
hours.
make this month.
And even like maybe in these areas, like
for
older
sure.
neighborhoods with roofs, like you just start to learn like who your target market is, who you're most likely to win those contracts from, and you can really apply that to like anything.
Yeah, it's any business. And really, like, you might get 5 years down the road and you're like, dude, I don't knock on doors anymore because I did it for so long that I built a customer base. And I get referrals and I get all this kind of stuff. But you've got to be willing to like put that time in on the front end. And we don't use the word grind. Like, that's another thing Apostle Aaron told us not to do years ago. He was like, don't like speak that over your. I don't want my life to be a grind. Do you know what a grind is? Like, always freaking grinding. Now I want it to be like a flow. I want to be like
a 50-50 grind.
No, I want it to be like, I want life to be smooth and
that's good.
a flow.
That
So
is
it's
good.
like rest.
rest
to empower
so
you.
just be, have wisdom and a plan, but don't say it's going to be a grind, because it doesn't have to be, unless you just speak that over it and you want it to be a grind, and that's not fun.
I think one thing that's important too. Now, business in the sense that you guys have, but I've watched my parents who have had Southern Gospel radio stations. I mean, being in AM radio for 42 years, there's got to be something to that.
Oh yeah.
And they've lasted for a long time. Now, I have a detailing business that, shout out to Joe
Yes,
Hahn.
sir.
Owen basically do for me, which is awesome, and they do a phenomenal job. And so that's more of like a side hustle right now. And I think there'll be something later for that. But anyway, back to my point. One thing I learned from my parents, even talking about like doing this, is that even the smallest decision in that direction is huge.
Yeah.
So what do I mean? I often am guilty of going, unless I can go big, I'm going home. But that's in a lot of ways starting big. This is anything in life. If you don't just make that initial step towards something,
Yes.
that's just as important. And I believe, like, yes, there are big risks that you take. There are big things. But it starts with selling one roof.
That's right.
It starts with selling one. And if I can get that one, I know I can get two.
Yeah.
If I can get that
Yeah.
two, I know I can get three. And I've learned, like, even like doing this podcast, I had to fight in myself not to spend like $2,000.
Yeah.
Guys to do this. Because that's my nature. I have an excellent heart.
Yeah.
I want to do things the right way. But sometimes it's okay to spend $200 and let that ride.
Yeah.
Until God tells you otherwise, or until you're at the point of success where it makes sense to spend that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to make the first step and be like, I spent $50 in this, and I'm going to spend 10 hours a week researching, and that's my first step. And then I'm going to get through that, and I'm going to. So that's I really want to encourage people, because I watched my parents do it. It's like they had no money. They had no money, and they borrowed from people that they knew to start.
Yeah.
And look at it 42 years later, it's still standing. And
Yeah.
it's turned into, now they have acreage and land. They have like over 20 acres in primetime areas that they could sell tomorrow and make $1 million if they wanted.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the thing.
It's
It's
awesome.
like one decision, borrowing $100 from one guy.
Yeah.
And figure it
Yep.
out, and then do exactly what you guys are talking about, sticking with it and getting after it. It's just small.
Yeah, the thing that hit me a few years ago was like, you hear people say, especially when we talk to young people, like, you can do anything. But it's like, unless you do something, you're not going to do anything. Like, you have to start somewhere. And when you find something that feels like it flows, like, I've started a couple businesses that didn't work out. Matt's probably started a couple businesses that just, it's like you do a few things and it just doesn't scale the way, but it's another step on the path of getting you to where.
Yeah, it's learning. And then to Tay's point, you know, when we started this business, it was like we had a room that cost us $300 a month and a filing cabinet that we spent $150 on. You know, I just started this with $500 and we never borrowed money. And then we just scaled it. And that was that whole thing where it's like, put milestone goals out there and just start the business and get one roof. Like, it's all about connecting those dots. You know, you don't have to start something thinking, dude, I'm going to make $75,000 this year or six figures this year off of this. Just make the minimal. There are some things that are non-negotiable investments when you're starting a business. But if you're a young dude and you want to start a lawn care business, buy a freaking zero-turn mower and a blower and a weed eater and go start knocking on doors. And then say, I'm going to get 20 yards consistently. And then you're cutting that every week. And then just save the cash. Don't burn through it. Like, save the money and then keep upgrading your equipment. And then all of a sudden, you've got 2 crews working for you and you've got a real business.
All right.
It's easier now than ever, especially the age which we live in, to scale. It's so easy. Like, you live, and return on investment in these days is easy as well. Like, you could spend, like, okay, for example, even the detailing that we do. I've got some detailing gear that I've built up over the years, but I didn't start with all that. I started with a vacuum and a pressure washer. Combined, it cost me $200. And I did what I did. And now I've got thousands of dollars worth of stuff because, and it makes our lives a lot easier. It makes the details go faster, it makes it more efficient. I make money a little quicker. So yeah, there's truth to that. But it's like, it's just like you said, I can go to Lowe's and spend $500 on yard equipment right now and make that $500 back in a week. And it's already paid. It's
For
already paid.
sure.
It's not. I've heard people say this, and I would be interested to see what you guys, especially being in business, think about this. I've heard people say, there's money out there. It's out there everywhere.
Somebody's going to be making it.
Somebody's making it. Somebody's giving it. Somebody's paying. I mean, there's people paying for stuff everywhere. You just gotta find it.
Yeah, and another thing is like don't come to us with an idea like, hey, I want to start a business knitting scarves. Like, you know, there's got to be a market for what you want to do.
Yeah.
You can't just be, I'm passionate about this. Well, are people passionate about buying it? Like, are you gonna? Is it actually something that's like people are gonna spend money on? Like, that's something you seriously have to ask. Like, I didn't grow up saying, oh, one day I want to be a realtor. You know, that's not like what I grew up thinking.
Yeah.
But it was in my mid-20s that, honestly, Elijah and I were with our families on 30A, and we were like, dude, you know, he and I were both kind of capped out where we were. And we were like, this is not going to get us to where we need to be. And honestly, I had heard this podcast, and this dude was like, real estate's made more millionaires than anything in the world. It was, if you look at it right now, it's probably 96% of people that are at the millionaire status got there through real estate. And I don't mean selling real estate. That's not, it's really investing and developing and doing that kind of stuff. But I knew that getting into real estate on the transactional side, it's called retail, on the retail side of real estate, that we could, first of all, remove the income cap. And if you work hard enough and smart enough and network with the right people, do enough transactions, you can start actually getting ahead in life. And we did that. And that was kind of where that idea birthed. Then we put the plan together, and then with the milestone things. And then we started with a little bitty office, and it was just me and him. And then we just scaled it every year. And you know, first year we did 3 million in sales, which is nothing, literally nothing. You know, I will do 3 million in sales like in a month, a lot of times. And the next year, I think we did 9 million. The next year, what did we do, Elijah? 22. Wow. The next year, 75 million. The next year, 124 million. And then this year, we're on track to hit 200 million in sales. Awesome. So it's like, you know, first year, it was impossible to sell $200 million of real estate. Right. But we started just knowing, like, hey, let's just get one deal. Let's start this business, and let's get a deal. And, like, let's start putting our signs in grounds. And then you just start to, you learn it. And, you know, where we started out at $300 a month in overhead, I mean, now our overhead is substantial. We have to sell a lot to just pay the bills, you know, the company does. Yeah. But
it's because we didn't despise small beginnings. And you think, like, there's a grace on this, like, on where we're at the homestead. I don't know if there's another place where your spiritual leaders are encouraging you to be entrepreneurs. Yeah. And you've got other people in the church who are also entrepreneurs. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in our church. And, I think that that's a sign that, like, there's going to be a lot of wealth coming into the homestead in the years to come. And there's this when I realized, like, there was a shift in my thinking about this, like, spiritually. There's a guy in Scripture. He's a disciple of Jesus, and he doesn't show up until pretty late in the Gospel of Matthew. And but I like. All I knew about disciples is that, hey, these are fishermen, tax collectors, dudes that are just, like, you know, trying to make ends meet, and they meet this guy that just captivates them so deeply that they drop everything to follow him, and they just say yes to a broke lifestyle. Well, in Matthew, like, 28, after Jesus is crucified, it literally says there came a rich disciple named Joseph, and he came from a place called Arimathea, and it said this, that he had the influence and, like, not just the reputation, but the resources to go before Pilate after Jesus was crucified, and he reclaimed the body of Christ from the cross. Yeah. And it's like, hold on, why did I never hear about the rich disciple? Like, I was told a lot about all the disciple, and there's nothing wrong with, like, dropping everything and saying yes to a lifestyle of just recklessly following Jesus. But I am saying that there's something to the fact that when Jesus was hanging on the cross and nobody had access to the body of Christ, the rich disciple had to step in.
Wow.
And he had to have the resources, and which means the financial resources, but even the reputation in the marketplace.
Yeah.
He showed up before Pilate, and Pilate probably knew who he was. Oh, that's Joseph,
Dude,
their
that's
master.
so
Wow.
That's
And so
so
he
good.
had to have recognition in business and the resources to come before him and say, that man on that cross, I'm going to take his body. And he said, he granted it to him. He said, go for it.
Dude, that's so good. And I want to flow off of that. So Elijah and I, and this is another thing, like we came from.
Got about 10 minutes. I love you guys, but I've got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
We came from, before we transitioned to the homestead. So a lot of that stuff was like Apostle Aaron would talk about the Melchizedek order. My mother-in-law, Teresa, would talk about the Melchizedek order. So, Jesus said, I'm not of the Levitical priesthood. He said in Hebrews, he said that he said there is a better way. And he said, I'm of the the Melchizedek order. And Melchizedek was a king and a priest, a king in the marketplace, a priest in the ministry. And when I started to really understand that, I was like, just exactly like what Elijah's saying. If you want to see change and impact happen, a lot of times it takes resource, money, influence.
Yeah.
So you can look at it one way, like, these dudes are chasing paper or whatever, but it's really like there are things that we would like to see shift and change and bring into the city that we're in. And you're not going to do it off of hope and a prayer.
Right.
Like it takes cash in
Yeah.
the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good.
It
Like
is.
things like there are things that need to be done that like can't be done with no money.
Right.
The Bible clearly states money answers all things.
Yeah. So.
Literally in the
Wow.
Old Testament, money answers all things. And I think, Elijah, your apostles talked about this a lot. Of course, money is not the end-all, be-all. We all understand that. It's not about chasing the money. It's about being Jesus-centered. But I believe that one particular area that sometimes either religious people or even kingdom people to a degree can kind of get wrong is that money itself is wrong. It's not. Money is amoral. It has no emotions. It has no
Yeah.
ability
Yeah.
to anything. It's about what we do with it. And when I think about in terms of money, I always think about these few things. I obviously think about taking care of my family. Any man with a family would. But I dream about supplying for people in the kingdom and in my community.
Yeah.
That automatically comes to my mind. And for the sake of providing those who don't have a car with a car. And because the blessing of the Lord makes one rich and has no sorrow. And if that's the case, like me having money has everything to do with what I can do for others.
Yeah.
I believe that that's a portion of how the kingdom and the gospel gets preached is not even necessarily with the words of my mouth. It's with what I have in my pocket.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
And if I can do that, and again, you can do that with $10. I'm not trying to make that unattainable. You do with the widow with the mite. She gave all she had. That meant just as
Yeah.
much. It's not necessarily about an amount, but I have often said this, and I've said, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I do feel this way. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy forever that just gives $20.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. And
That's
when
good,
someone calls you and says, my car does not work, I have no way to get to work, I have no way to provide for my family, you feel a lot better buying someone a vehicle than you do saying, well, let me pray for you real quick.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
I mean, that happened this year. Like, and thinking about too, when we were doing our big debt payoff like a year or so ago, yeah, it feels good to strike that big check and
Yeah.
and contribute towards that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
Of course.
Good, man.
Well, I love this
Yeah,
conversation,
this-
but we
yeah.
got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
These two guys are busy.
Y'all got everything they've been talking about.
Yeah.
They got to go do.
Also,
now.
Yeah.
maybe
An
we can
invoice
do
for my
a
time.
maybe
Yeah.
we can do a part 2 to
Hey,
this.
seriously,
Yeah.
we would
We-
love that. And we were just like,
For sure.
we were, it'll probably go the same way next time. We'll be dumb for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
we'll end up. But thank y'all so much for doing this.
Yeah, for
like,
sure. Yeah.
So fun, man.
we like we always say, like, it's just an excuse to, like, sit down and talk for an hour and a half. Like, you don't really get that. Like, we're all busy. Like, y'all are definitely busier, but everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Getting an hour and a half to just sit and, like, just chat is,
Fellowship.
like, it's rare.
Yeah, it's good, man.
So we're thankful.
Thank you guys for having us on.
Thank y'all.
Of course.
It's been a
Of
lot of
course.
Yeah,
fun.
we
an
love
honor.
you guys so much.
Yeah,
we
there's a
love y'all.
number on the screen if you want to give toward Johan's shoes.
Yep, and we got to pay these guys for giving us their time. So they may or may not
we
get
need
the
some more
money.
subscribers.
Yeah. So
Love y'all.
Thank y'all.
See ya.